Hey, welcome back to another episode of Generational Gains with myself, Greg, and my son, Carson, Herleen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
It's great to be here again with you today. Today I wanted to go over something that a lot of kind of some Q&As and things that we kind of weren't able to go over in a webinar. We had a live webinar today, and today was one of the something we haven't really done so much at all, which was a live webinar. We had a little over 150 people on today, and they came on to hear me kind of host and interview my son on what he's been up to and what he's doing and how he's helping so many people in his particular industry and space.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of questions that came up, and so many that we actually couldn't answer a lot of the questions. And so we thought we'd just take this episode and talk about some of the takeaways that I had hearing him for the 10th time. And today, by the way, was the absolute best examples and best presentation I've ever heard on the subject, which is saying a lot because I've heard some really, really experienced older people and people doing this for a long time who have not explained it the way you did today. And so very impressed. And I mean, I can almost lead off by sharing some of what I thought you did that was different or explain that was different, but also want to share just some takeaways from today that I think could be really helpful for you as you've heard some of us, Carson and I, talk about real estate, money, insurance, and how, you know, some of these advantages, how to take advantage of it. But you want to give a little summary? You want me to give a summary on today of what you went over?
Yeah, you definitely can. So we essentially focus on retirement income planning, but one specific niche of retirement income planning, and that is maximizing your income through a strategy we call the Volatility Buffer. Kind of sounds a little complex. What it is super simple. The biggest risk you have in retirement is taking income while the markets are moving up and down, and by doing that, you have a high risk of running out of money. You don't want to be the person who's stuck at 75 or 80 in retirement and lost all your money because you took too much or the market dropped when it wasn't supposed to, you weren't thinking it would. And that's the risk we're trying to avoid. And we do that by essentially putting a separate pool of money aside to use as income when the markets move. It's a fairly simple strategy. We call it the Volatility Buffer. And so this is the concept we talked a lot about today. And if you're someone who's going into retirement and you're saving money and you're preparing for that future, you're investing right ways, what you're missing is protecting yourself against this risk. And so this strategy helps do that and puts a tool in place to eliminate that risk. And so we spent an hour talking to people who are preparing for retirement, how to incorporate the strategy, set up the right tools in place, and make sure they maximize their income when they go into retirement. And so that's what we focus on. And the way we do that and the tool we use actually is whole life insurance. It's specially designed, specifically structured insurance. When I say specifically structured, I mean for this strategy specifically. It's not just generic insurance you get off the street. It's designed to help maximize your income in retirement and get rid of the risks of running out of money. And so those are the strategies we teach. That's the product that we use. And so obviously that comes up with a lot of questions because it's like, oh, I've heard of insurance before. Oh, I do all these other investment strategies. Oh, I know about income planning. How do I make sense of all these different things? And so a lot of Q&A came up towards the end. But I mean, what were your takeaways from the webinar?
Well, one of the things my takeaway, when you call it a volatility buffer, I think that's exactly what it is.
It's buffering the volatility, right?
Well, my takeaway was putting together, basically ensuring your retirement income.
Yeah.
So you said this today, and I thought you did a great job as far as like, you insure your car, your homes, your life. But why don't you insure, this is, by the way, I'm quoting him. Yeah. Why don't you also insure your retirement income? Yeah. You spend all these years, decades of, accumulation and compound and then all of a sudden you talked about distributions. And this concept, the way you explain it, I've never heard before. Most people that I've heard, they talk about IBC, infinite banking concept, where it's like, hey, look, put money away, use it as a bank account, take the money out and borrow it, pay it back. And by the way, that concept works as well.
Yeah.
But not totally the concept that kind of jives for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe this is, based upon the time that you are in your life, and maybe if you're 20 or 25 or 30, 35 even, the infinite banking concept makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would agree.
But for me, and I think if you're listening to this, maybe if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s even, this concept I think is more applicable in ensuring that you have income for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole life policy. So that for me, that hit me differently than your past and or other people's. I've heard a lot of people present on this. The way that you presented it, it hit me differently today. And I think it was because of that. So we're going to answer some of the questions that we weren't able to do today in today's webinar that we wanted to. I had a hard stop and Carson's like, why do we have to go? There was like 100 people or more still on that wanted to hear. I'm sorry, I had a hard stop.
It's all good. It's all
good. And so I wanted to kind of answer that today in today's podcast. So first and foremost, I'd like to ask Carson some of the questions we weren't able to kind of dive deeper into. So if you've heard Carson before, he talks about whole life, and that's one of the triggering things. People say, well, oh, damn, Ramsey says, buy term, invest the rest, and whole life's in IULs. Like, what's the difference? But why don't we start there maybe with, why whole life? Why not an IUL? I've heard whole life is, not good. Can you kind of talk about those two questions that we got today and we didn't spend too much time on?
Yeah, and I think someone in the chat actually today made a point, maybe you made a point in the chat, but someone said like, well, Dave Ramsey also says debt is bad.
Someone else said that.
How many billionaires use debt?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many billionaires and wealthy families use life insurance? All of them. So it's like, sure, take his advice for what it is, but everyone knows this. Dave Ramsey and those people are not meant to help you build wealth. They're meant to make you not broke. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing. Dave Ramsey's education and concepts in general are good for most people.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're talking to most people.
It's to keep you not broke.
Yeah.
It's not meant to become a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, but yes, there's good and bad things about every financial product and every financial strategy. And so whole life's nothing different. But like I was saying today, it's like whole life's a very valuable asset that most families have used for 200 years. Any new concept, and IULs, for example, or specific different stocks or funds, like most of these things are new. They were designed to be cool investments and help you with retirement, but they're still running their course. We don't know if an IUL is going to work out. We're 15, 20 years into that product even being developed, and it's meant to be a whole retirement strategy. You don't even know if it's going to be good at the end of the day. So whole life policy is tested, it's tried, it's true, it's been around forever. It's something that you can't get anywhere else with all the guarantees attached to it, right? And so that's why we use it for such a thing like this.
Well, and there's a purpose for it. I think one of your message, and it's hard without the slides, but I want to share, is that it's important for you to continue to invest in whatever you're investing in. The stock market, alternative assets. You weren't really talking about the accumulation of investing in wealth. You're talking about creating this little nest egg that continues to grow, that's guaranteed, that has a little bit of interest, there's no taxes on it, that's this little bucket for you to pull out of when you're taking distributions from all this money you've created. Because if you start, to his point he shared, you retire and start taking distributions, and you take it even on years where you might lose money 10, 20, 30% and still take a distribution, that's when you're going to outlive your retirement account. So what's creative about what Carson and his team does is they've created a strategy specifically for you. The timing, the amount of dollars you save, and using it for this purpose, not really for everyday banking and or paying off debt, which you could do as well, but more for preparing for ensuring your retirement.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Also, this strategy is not something that I came up with. Like, this is not something new. This strategy has been around forever. And when I say this strategy, I mean using life insurance as a part of your investment portfolio going into retirement. I was reading a study this last week done by Ernst & Young. You know that big group, huge international financial company. They put out a white paper. They did brand new research on retirement income planning like a year ago. And they said the most optimal investment portfolio to have the most income and the most protection, biggest legacy, everything in retirement was actually having 30% of your entire investment portfolio in whole life. Interesting. They said another 30% annuities, the other 40 in alternative investments. But that 30% of your whole thing in whole life was very interesting. Just think that you might think people say buy term, invest the difference. no, the true research, PhD, people who are doing research behind this, that's what they're teaching and we're preaching. And yes, you can be banking with your policies. You also can be using it to produce income in retirement. And so that's what we want to preach and share the message of, because it's better than you might have think or heard of before.
Well, I like it too, because I'm not here. Look, I'm not partners with Carson or his business. I like it because for me personally, I've been in so many up and down markets. And if I would have retired in 2008
yeah,
or 2006,
yeah,
and then had 2008 happen and start taking distributions, I would be definitely outliving my money. And so what I like about this is it creates kind of some blanket and some security for people that I know or people I don't know, where they can go to and turn to when there's a downturn. And so that's why I like it. I've been through so many tougher investments or tougher years that it's good to put some stability back into your retirement income.
And to just teach more on this point, a volatility buffer was not as important as it is today, because up until 2000, that 100-year period beforehand, there was maybe one huge market drop, maybe two in that entire 100-year period. It just didn't happen. It was just slow and steady growing. From 2000 to today, there's been 3 massive market crashes and 1 looming. The amount of volatility we have in today's economy because of all the outside factors increases your risk more than anything else in the past. So if you are over 50 years old, maybe you're thinking, oh, this, whatever, it's not necessary. Well, because of the last 15 years, if you're living in Iraq, you wouldn't know. But the last 15 years, things have changed. You need buffers for volatility in place because of how much volatility there will be the next 20, 30 years of your life. Whether you understand that or not, there's going to be a lot more than before, which is why it's actually so necessary.
All right, well, you've doubled down on why whole life insurance.
Yes.
How about you share with us, one of the questions people ask is about fees and commissions and things like that. So I like to just nail it right head on.
Yeah.
Like that's something that people ask about. So how does it work? How do you get paid? How do you protect yourself to make sure it's the right kind of policy, things like that?
100%. And people should be asking those kind of questions, and they should be wanting to know what people are making and what everyone's getting out of it, because that's how you know where the value is. We are a licensed insurance brokerage. We work with multiple insurance companies that like Mass Mutual, Penn Mutual, Guardian, name brands, right? These companies. And so that's who we're working with. That's who you would be setting up a policy with, essentially. And so we get paid from those companies for bringing them the business. And there's no cost or fees from us. We're not charging you to do this or set anything up. You're just we're just paid from the insurance companies. But how those products are designed is, if we're building this policy to be used as this buffer and a place to store capital and diversifying the things we're talking about, the way we design it is very specific, where you have access to all the money you're putting into it, which means actually that the commission that an agent could make on it's very, very minimal. And so we as an insurance agency sacrifice commissions to make sure the policy is built to fulfill the goal it's meant to do. And you can't really get that from most other insurance agents or brokerages or companies, because one, usually they're not educated on teaching these strategies, and two, it's not a profitable product to sell, so why would they? And so that's why it's also very hard to find the right people to set these policies up, because it has to be so specifically designed, and you want to make sure you're not getting screwed by someone taking way too much in commissions on those kind of policies.
All right, so next question. So Carson, I'm not super healthy, or am I too old to get one of these type of policies? So I'm in my 60s, I'm healthy, I'm 55 or 65 years old, I'm healthy, I like this, but am I too old to get one of these policies? And or I'm not healthy, so how do I can't get an insurance policy, so therefore can I not do this?
Yeah, so great, I don't know if we addressed this question today, but it's very simple. We're using a policy as an asset we're storing money in. So as long as this is an asset we can fund and store money in, we're getting the benefit of the strategy. Does the policy have to be on you? No, it can be on a spouse, a kid, a grandkid, business partner. You can put a policy on someone else. As long as you have an asset to store this money in and be able to leverage it the way we're looking for, you get the benefit. So it doesn't matter who the policy's on. And as well too, it's like, we're not designing the policy for a death benefit anyways. Now, we want to keep that in mind, and we want to make sure you're covering yourself adequately and do our fiduciary duty to protect you. But at the same time, the policy can work no matter who the policy is on.
Yeah, and so I mean, you can put it on a spouse, a child, etc. So like we said today, if the concept or strategy works, there's probably most likely, if it doesn't work on you, you can still own it. So it's still your bank account. It's just the insured could be a spouse or a kid or a grandkid even. So, it's pretty simple. So look, I just wanted to say, as I listened to Carson today and not only right now, but also earlier, the connection a little bit as far as what I do and what Carson does. Yeah. My message has been for 25 years, but really strongly the last 15 years of taking back and controlling your money. I truly believe in you should unlock your money. You should invest in what you understand. Yep. If you can, right? I'd say, 80% of Americans probably can't because they might not have the wherewithal. They might not understand. They might just need to have an advisor do all of it. And that's totally fine. That is not what this message is for. This is for those people that are wanting to take action, to unlock their retirement funds, to invest in assets, even a portion of their funds in something they like and understand, which is why I think it's so congruent or parallel to what you talk about. You're talking about controlling your retirement income, ensuring your retirement income. Yeah. And so that's why these two things can work so much hand in hand. He doesn't work for Horizon, and I don't work for his company either on the insurance side. But understanding your money and how it works for you, especially when you go to take distributions, and obviously for compounding and growth, I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, and to that point, someone asked today, I wish we actually addressed it. It was a good question. If I'm putting some of my assets in a policy and my IRAs and I'm investing in real estate, but I'm putting some of these policies, they're going to earn less than my real estate would. So when I retire, shouldn't I have less money? That was what someone said.
Good question.
It's a great question. And to sum it up too with Horizon, if you're wanting to self-direct your funds and invest in what you like and can understand and care about and can get better rates of returns, of course, the more you can accumulate, the better. And that's what's so important about self-directing. And then that's what will help you build up your asset base. And then we're just using these policies to maximize your income from those assets when you retire. So it's a two-punch thing there where they're both interconnected. But to get to the point, you will have less in assets when you retire if you set up a volatility buffer, because that's going to earn less than your other investments will. However, and we've done all the back math and calculators and tools we can give you where you can run your own numbers and see that even with less total assets, you will have more income and more consistent income in retirement.
Like 10 or 20 years more.
Correct. And 20 years longer worth of retirement, or double the amount of income you can take in every given year. And that's because we're getting rid of the volatility, which means you can take more income.
So would you say, I don't know if you've done the math on this, but that question is a good question. So would you say in general, there's a parameter like, hey, if I'm going to save $100,000 a year, would you say in general, like, it typically works that if you were to put 90 in your typical and 10 in the buffer, have you done that formula that it's on average that's the formula, or does it change too much? It could be 25 and 75 or 5%, 95, or have you not done that math?
Yeah, we have. It's that's why we kind of separate everybody by a different age group and asset amount, because yes, if you have no assets whatsoever and you're just trying to save year to year, then usually it's more heavily weighted towards investments. But if you have a decent amount saved up, moving forward, honestly, most of it would go to a policy. And if you're already retired, we would do just a reallocation of assets of maybe 4 to 5 years worth of income. We would just pull out, put into a policy one time, and then leave everything else the same.
Cool.
So it just depends on how old you are and how much you're saving.
So it is different for everybody. Well, cool. Yeah. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Today was really good and very insightful. And if you want to actually get that video that we did, or that webinar today, as you're listening to this, we can send it to you. Just DM us, or if you're obviously watching this probably on YouTube, send us a message or email us. Yeah. And we'll send you that. It's probably about a 30-minute presentation with the slides. I think it'd be really helpful for you if you want to kind of dive deeper into it. Yep. And as always, obviously, reach out to us. So yeah. Yeah.
We appreciate you guys always listening, and we always end with a sweet, sour, and service from our life, from our week. We did a suite on our webinar today, so let's do something different this time. Let's do a little, I did a service actually, let's do something different. I'll do a suite, you do something else.
All right.
My suite is how much we love sports. I know it's kind of weird. Sports is such a fun hobby, and it's such a exciting thing to be a part of. And so the Golden Knights are in the playoffs right now. Yeah. And I swear every single day I wake up excited for the next playoff game. They're so fun to watch, and we're winning right now, and there's a chance we win the whole thing. So that's been so fun. It's been an exciting thing the past couple weeks.
I'm just grateful that we were able to hang with some of our friends. One of our friends turned 50 this weekend. We were able to go celebrate him. And I'm just reminded of how grateful that, how great life is and how short life can be. And so it's really important to stay present and be present with those that you're with. And so on that note, one thing I did do a couple days ago, and I'm not sure exactly how to fix this. I mean, I know how to fix it, but I want to like alter it a little bit, is I did turn my phone off into like the silence mode. So I get no notifications, which I don't love, but it has helped me be more present. The problem is the people I want to hear from and answer. Well, I've got to like literally pick up my phone, like, oh, I missed Carson's, he called me 3 times. Is he okay? So I know there's a place to change that, but anyways, it allowed me to be more present and grateful in my moments that I'm in my life today. So
I love it.
Thanks for listening today, and hopefully this is helpful for you today as well.